Hey, welcome back to the Slay the Spire 2 at home video series where we make a homemade version of Slay the Spire 2 one tiny piece at a time just for fun. So today we're going to do another easy episode, right? Just not do anything special, just add the Mawler advanced hallway fight, right? So no, really intensive coding sessions where things can go wrong, right? Well, at least that's the hope. So yeah, let's just get started, right? So yeah, same thing as before, right? With all the other hallway fights we did, we'll just do kind of the same sort of thing. This shouldn't take that long. So we'll make a folder called Mawler, right? We start with the actions that the Mawler does. So we'll do the. Oh, this thing is taking a while to pop up for some reason. What's going on there? Okay, that was weird. Computer was running a little bit slowly there for whatever reason. Okay, but we got that open. So this will be Mawler action picker. And then so the Mawler in Slay the Spire 2, besides being spelled with a W instead of a U, right, because it's a reference to the Maul apparently, at least according to the wiki. So it's got three moves, single hit move, a multi-hit move, and then a vulnerable action, right? So let's add a couple of those. So we'll add one for the single hit, right? We'll add one for the multi-hit. Yeah, and then we need to create the vulnerable action since apparently we haven't actually done that yet. Because before we started making the YouTube, videos, we did do the red slaver, but red slaver doesn't attack while applying vulnerable, so I guess we never actually made an action that just applies vulnerable and does nothing else, right? But that's pretty straightforward. We'll just copy the thing from the weak action, right? When something applies weak, and then we'll just change it to vulnerable, basically, right? So let's put that there in the common enemy actions. I'm assuming there's something else we'll eventually run into, which does just vulnerable. So yeah, I'll just make it a common script, like something that can be reused in the future, right? So we'll do that. Oops, I need to spell that correctly, otherwise the class won't pop up, right? So this will be basic. No, let's call it, okay, so basic underscore vulnerable debuff action. Yeah, let's call it that. Okay, yeah, let's do that. And then we'll just copy, most of the stuff from week, right? But okay, let's give it the class name first. So we'll call it class name basic vulnerable debuff action. All right, so let's, oops. How did that E go away? What? Okay, I must have misclicked some at some point. Okay, so let's go. Oh, okay. So I guess you can't select the script by pressing here. You have to actually do it in the script window. That's a little bit weird. I guess you can double click to, yeah, okay, that's Godot editor weirdness. All right, so let's just copy paste that stuff and then we'll change it to vulnerable, basically, right? So let's, yeah. How am I doing this here? So there's a space. So I put a comment here for like the specific things. Okay, we don't need that. We'll just put. So we'll put vulnerable duration, right? And then so we'll change that to vulnerable duration. And then we have to change the function we're calling in our status factory. That right. So that's basically we did everything we need to do there, right? So that's. We just copy pasted the weak and then we just changed it to vulnerable. Okay, so let's add that there. Okay, and then just to be like, to match what's on the wiki, we'll put them in that order, right? The single target, the vulnerable, and then the multi-hit. So, and then these are all conditional. I mean, not conditional. These are chance-based, like, so after the first one, right? It starts with the claw, which is the multi-hit. And then after that, it does, it just rolls, with equal weight, right? And it can't use a move twice in a row, which we've already got implemented to in our enemy action. So basically, if I, not this here. If I go into the action picker, right? Let me show you what I have. Let's see, where did I put that? I probably put it in the enemy actions. Yeah, okay, so in this class, right, so we have a way of setting the weights, right? So basically you will just give it numbers and then it'll just, have a way to roll between the child nodes, right? Just based on the weighting, right? Just a pretty standard way. You can easily Google how to do that, right? And then another thing that we have is that, what was I going to say? No, I guess I didn't really need to say anything else, right? Like that's pretty much, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so, but yeah, so we do have to actually set that here, right? So we have different ways of triggering the different things. So yeah, so just make them all chance based, right? So if I go into here, and then we'll give them one. Oh yeah, the other thing I was going to say was that I do also have a way to say like, well, the maximum number of times a move can be used, so that when we're going in and rolling the stuff, right, like here, like, so we do check that stuff, right, and then we basically we're just doing it a pretty, I guess, intuitive way, but I don't know if it's that necessarily like standard or optimal. I don't know how people usually do stuff like this. But basically, if something has already been used that many times in a row, right, like we just re-roll and then we pick a different one. And so if you've watched my previous videos, that's what we've been, that's why these variables exist, right? Previously used action and previously used in a row, just to support that interface, right? But yeah, so basically, so for all these, we'll need to set those to one time it can be used in a row, right? Because if we look on the wiki in Slay the Spire 2, right, Mawler, it says it cannot use the same move twice in a row. And then, well, roar can be only used once per fight. So we do need to take care of that, right? This alone won't handle that, but we'll do that, in a second. Okay, so for here though, let's just set the values for the things here. So this is called, I mean, this name doesn't matter, but just, at least not in this project so far. It doesn't really matter, right? But just for consistency and just to keep track of what things are, right? We just give the nodes the corresponding name to match what's on the Slay the Spire 2 wiki. So this does 14 damage, right? Oh yeah, give it the picture, and then so it's the sword icon, right? And in this project, I don't have it implemented where the icon changes, where if the damage becomes different, right, at runtime, right? Like if due to buffs or debuffs, I don't care about that, at least not for now. Okay, so we've got that going, right? And then the roar, the vulnerable duration is 3, right? And then the icon is that little down arrow. Yeah, this thing here. And then for the multi-hit, it's 4x2. At least that's the base values, right? I mean, Mawler's not gaining strength. I mean, you can apply weak to it, right? But the base value is 4x2. And then it'll do for the icon by default, I guess, is a Chris icon, right? Okay, like that. So that sets care of the images. So what we do need to do is make sure that claw is the first move, right? And then the roar can only be used once per fight. But basically, okay, so this scene in general, right? What usually happens is that after it enters a scene tree, we're calling this setup chances function, right? And that's setting the weights, right? So basically what I'm planning to do here is like after the Mawler uses roar, this child will be removed from, from the parent node at runtime, and then we'll just recall setup chances. So basically it'll, in future uses, the roar won't be there and it'll just alternate between rip and tear and claw. I mean, it won't really be alternating because it'll be, what's actually going to be happening under the hood is that if it rolls the same one twice in a row, it'll just re-roll again until it gets the other one, right? That's the way I have it implemented. But, yeah, just to support this easy interface in the inspector, and since a lot of things in Slay the Spire 2 work that way, right? Yeah, so I don't have anything like really fancy to, to make it like just exclude that before rolling, like based on the maximum consecutive number of uses. I mean, there are ways to do that easily, but it makes the code somewhat messy, and it's a little bit. Yeah, there's pros and cons, right? That's a complete different discussion. Like we can go down the rabbit hole talking about that, but for now we'll just do it this way, right? So we'll just do the Mawler action picker. So this will be class name Mawler action. Oops. Okay, so recently, if you've been following this series, and you've been noticing that I've liked doing some of these scripted action, like for the first turn, based on just doing a null check on the previous enemy action, right? So that seems to be pretty intuitive and working, right? So instead of like having a separate variable to keep track of the which action number we're on. So I've been liking doing it that way. So we'll just keep doing that, right, until we figure out a reason, unless we ever encounter a reason not to do that, right? But for now, okay. So oh wait, no, this is wrong script. I copied. No, I didn't mean to copy from there. Yeah, I meant to copy this. Okay, so we're going into here. So okay, so if the previously used action is null, right? So that's the first turn we're supposed to use claw, right? So we'll set that, and then we'll also we actually do need to set these values now because we are actually using the interface, right? So in a lot of the other enemies for which it's not relevant for, I've been setting these anyways just to keep things consistent, right? But this is where it's actually needed. So we don't use claw twice in a row. We don't use rip twice in a row, stuff like that, right? All right. So otherwise, if the previously used action in a row is claw, I guess that because that'll be the first thing, right? So let's start with that. Well, no, I guess it's just else, right? Because so by default, we just return get chance-based action. So get chance-based action, I have this function. Whoops. So I have this function, and this sets the previously used in a row and then previously used action, right, as part of this function. So I don't need to manually do that in addition to calling this function. I just have it already, setting that, right. So let's yeah. So let's back to the Mawler action picker, right. Okay. So if we have already, so is there a better way to do this? Let's see. Because I want this to just fall through here, right? Because rather than having it in the tab, well, I should also do the thing where if we don't, we remove roar from the. Okay, so if the previously used action was roar, right? We want to make sure we don't ever use that again. So we'll say, or like temp roar, I guess, reference. I don't know. Node equals roar. So this is just to manually get rid of it, like, so we don't rely on the garbage collector. But basically what we'll be doing is remove child roar, right? So we'll get rid of it in the scene tree, and then we'll just do temp roar reference dot queue free. I mean, you probably don't actually need to do this, but this is just manually queue free rather than relying on whatever garbage collection Godot might do. I'm not that familiar with what exactly the garbage collection is like in Godot. Okay, but and then we do. Oh yeah, so this can just be the fall through. We'll just have it like this, right? Yeah, so this is fall through case, yeah. Yeah, so rather than putting it in tapped, right? So that way, yeah, we don't have to do some really ugly looking stuff. Okay, so basically what the Mawler does, right? The first turn, if the enemy action is null. Oh, and we do need to return here so it doesn't go into the fall through. Okay, so because now that we're falling through here, we're doing the returns. Okay, so we do need to return. Yeah, and then oh no, we do need to call this too, right? If even if it's not roar. What's the best structure for this? Yeah, but the roar, it'll fall through down to here, right? Okay, so this will be for I mean, this is for every turn besides the first turn, right? Yeah, so we'll just do that. Oh yeah, and we do need to, after the roar is removed, we do need to call that setup chances again, right? Okay. So it'll alternate between rip and tear and claw due to the maximum consecutive number of uses restriction, right? So, all right. So first turn, previously used in a row is 1, and then we set it to claw, right? And we have to manually set it here because we're not falling through to the get chance based action, which satisfies that interface, I guess, and does it for us, right? And then, okay, after that, whether or not roar was the previous action, we just roll, and then we've got the weights. We're setting them all to 1, right? So they should have an equal chance, and then this will set the previously used in a row and previously used action appropriately, right, before returning. And then in the case where the previously used action was war, we'll, in addition, like prior to that, we'll remove it from the scene tree and then free it, right? And then, well, after removing it from the scene tree, we also recall setup chances again. So we're only, so this should be enough, right, for the Mawler action picker. So let's make the enemy stats file. Let's just create that. So this will be Mawler stats. All right, so we've got that. Oh, and I'm not sure. Did I copy the image? So I just downloaded the image from the wiki, right, to the project file beforehand. Let me make sure I did that. I might not have. Okay, I did. It is there. Okay, so let's back to the stats file. So we'll do that, and then it'll just be what we just created here with the rip and tear, roar, and claw, right? And then if the health will be 72 because we're not worried about the higher ascensions yet, right? And then the art will just be the art we downloaded from the wiki. Yeah, like that. Okay. And then so we'll just set up the node so that it can be loaded right when we actually fight the Mawler. So we'll just set that here. So we'll make a new folder for that too, right? Mawler. And then we'll just create a new node. And this node 2D we're not actually using, but it's fine. Counter. Yeah. Okay, and then under here, and then Mawler doesn't start with any, excuse me, it doesn't start with any status effects, right? So we can just use the base enemy class. And then the stats file will be the enemy stats that we just created, right? The file. So let's go back to. I all of a sudden started having the urge to cough. That's a little bit weird. Okay, but so we set the stats. That should be all we need to do there. We also need to make sure it's at the right position on the screen, right? And so I guess we decided that that's this. Okay, so let's make the actual encounter data file, right, so that we can have a chance of running into this. And then for testing, we'll set the weight really high for now, right? Let's go into the Mawler folder, create a new resource file. This will be encounter data, So then we'll call it Mawler encounter.tres. And then the name can just be Mawler. It'll be at the advanced hallway fight, right? Which we haven't started distinguishing between overgrowth and underdogs yet. But we'll set the weight really high for now, right? So the other ones just have 1, so we can test it more easily, right? So we'll just do that. And then we'll add that to our Slay the Spire 2 encounter pool. Oh, sorry. Yeah, all of a sudden I just coughed a couple times. Okay, that's a little weird. All right, so oops. Let's do that. So Mawler, that can be, just alphabetical order with the other advanced hallway fights, right? So right between Forest Slimes and Shrinker Beetle and Fuzzy Worm Crawler. So we'll have that. Okay, so let's make sure we took out all the cheating stuff in the start of the run, right? Because right now we're just worried about testing the Mawler and then making sure the script, kind of works the way we intended it to. Let's see, run. Okay, why is my editor taking a long time to open stuff today? That's a little bit weird. It doesn't usually do that. So I'm just like, Yeah, just locking up for what? Oh, so something's got a compile issue. There's probably some. There's like some sort of circular dependency again. That's probably why. Okay, what happened? Something went wrong. Invalid base 64 encoded. What? Okay, maybe I just need to reload the project. Did something get corrupted? Let me reload the project. What's going on here? Oh, maybe I need to save the file. Okay, let's try that. Well, my editor is just suddenly barfing today. Hopefully something didn't get corrupted. That doesn't look good, right? Okay, let's reload the project. Got a parser error. Okay, hopefully something didn't get corrupted. That's not good. I should probably look into that. Wow, and it's really slowing down my editor also. Okay, so we should figure out what's causing this. Hopefully it wasn't just something that got corrupted, right? Invalid card name. Invalid base 64 include what? Is there a way to tell what base 64 encoded string that it's complaining about? So something went wrong with this, maybe? Is that... Or is that just because everything else is getting messed up? Wow, how... Oh, did I... Maybe this happened because I set the wrong type of something. Hold on, let me go back to... Okay, so the... What is this? This is enemy stats. That should be fine, right? Action picker. Just making sure I set the types of everything. Then the encounter data, because sometimes things can get messed up if you if you set a wrong type somewhere, right? This is... Wait, what is this doing here? Oh no, that's yeah, that's fine. Here. Hold on. Oh, did I drag the wrong file to the encounter pool? Is that... No. This should be fine, right? Okay, so why did everything just suddenly barf when it was working fine before? That should be fine, right? Did I put the wrong type in the... Okay, well maybe we just start looking into here and see if we can figure out why this parse error is happening. armaments UI.tscn. Where did I put that? Card specific UI. No, missing dependencies. Okay, so yeah, that's just the dependencies are everything's got messed up somehow. Carname.tres. So let's go into the resources. So what's going on with this tres file? Did something just get corrupted, or? I can't even open this. Okay, so this resource file just got corrupted somehow. Okay, that's a little weird. So if I open up carddisplay.tscn, it's gonna... Yeah, I don't know why this happens with Godot sometimes. Sometimes you have stuff that's just working fine, and then you just have something get corrupted for no good reason, and then you have to like delete and recreate everything. That is super annoying. So if I open up that file, what does it show, I guess, is... If I just go and do Godot... Whoops, wrong. If I go into my project folder, hold on. Well, and this file just became super huge. Okay, so something just got super corrupted, right? Like, wow. Just for no good reason. That's kind of annoying. Yeah, this is another problem with not having anything under version control too. Although I can load from a backup, maybe just what that kind of looks like. Although it'd probably be safer just to... Okay, so if I open that file, what is... Wow, what is this? It just put in a bunch of garbage data and... So basically I must have dragged some image somewhere like that where it didn't belong. Is that... So why don't I open up what... Okay, one of the things from my previous version, just to see what it's supposed to look like. Maybe it's just make it easier to recover. Okay, so if I... Oh, it's already messed up here. Okay, so at some point this file got corrupted. Okay, so it's been like that for a while now. And it just never got exposed before. Huh, that's very interesting. Okay, so... Yeah, so it's been like that for a while now. Alright, so maybe I just need to... How do I address this? So, okay, so I want to save the underlying data here, right? Is that... So this is what I need, right? Outline size 6, font size 6, outline color, okay. Because what's in one of the other files, I guess, is... Okay, so there's not much in these files usually, right? So they're supposed to just... So it's just got some random corruption in... All right. Why does it need an image as a sub-resource? Like, how did that even get in there? So if I were just delete this, maybe it fixes the problem also. Okay, so the font needs to be in there, right? So is this... No. Why does this have all this stuff in here? Oh, it's got some other stuff too. Sub-resource. So there's stuff in the cache, or... I don't know exactly what this stuff is. Oh, here. Okay, so we've got the font. So it's basically some font information too. Okay. But this should be handled by the font files, right? So why didn't this like mess it up before now also? This file's been messed up for a long time also. Okay, so let's delete this cache, right? And then maybe if we just copy this stuff over, we'll just... Oh, okay, so this isn't even correct. So it's... So the font became this sub-resource instead. Okay. Oh, okay. So okay, there must be some kind of engine bug in Godot when you're changing your font setting, global font settings, and you're importing them. It's like, okay, it can mess up the resource file. Because yeah, this stuff is supposed to be in the like when in the you know this sort of stuff, right? Okay. All right. So maybe we can just fix this manually then. All right. So what? Okay, if I just do this, right? If I were to just kind of do this sort of thing, and then okay, how about if I do this? Okay, let's see if that fixes it. Okay, not gonna lie, that was kind of scary. So I've had a corrupted theme resource in my project for who knows how long, right? And okay, so this is kind of the bad part about not having anything under version control, just to try to do everything faster and not have to set that up, right? Because yeah, if I go in here, it's been like this since at least May 5th. All right, well, okay, so let's back to testing the Mawler, right? All right, so okay, so we fixed our project, and then so I don't understand why it does this by default, like this size, when my default project resolution is, 'cause if I go here, right, because then I restart it again. Oops. Yeah, then it goes back to the default size, right? Like how does this debug window decide what size to. It's not a big deal. It just one. And that's a little bit weird, right? Okay, but in any case. All right, so that was scary. All right, so then now we're back to testing the Mawler, right? Okay, so yeah, I run into sometimes like similar stuff like that in Godot before. Like yeah, and there's some bugs, right? So yeah, that's not good though. I wonder if that happened like due to an engine bug or if I just dragged and dropped the wrong thing at some point and that caused a bug or I don't know. But yeah, it's a good thing the structure of those files is somewhat, somewhat simple, right? So we can just open up the file in the text editor and just fix it manually, right? But yeah, that's kind of what was it doing there? All right, so yeah, I was just well, I probably want to take more block cards, right? Because if I'm trying to test the Mawler, I just want to block for a while just to make sure the attack pattern's working, right? Okay, so we got the Mawler, right? So let's just block for a bit and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, right? Okay, so far everything looks okay, right? It didn't use the same attack twice in a row. Okay, so now we're reading the debuff, and it should never use the debuff again, right? So yeah, and then it should alternate between the attacks. It's not going to use the single hit and then multi hit. Yeah. So it just alternates, right? Because that's what Mawler does, and it's never going to use the roar again, right? Because that's what Mawler does, right? Mawler does what Mawler does. Okay, so yeah, Mawler seems to be working, right? So we did have a bit of an issue with a theme file having been corrupted since at least May 5th, right? But yeah, we did fix that. So yeah, that was really scary. Like everything just suddenly started barfing and break. Oh, what's this? Oh, okay. So after we remove the roar, so this check is giving us an error, right? That's it's not an error that we really notice, right? But we should probably fix that, right? Ah. Okay, so yeah, we do need to account for that this is being removed at runtime. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Do we want to move the scope up to here, or do we want to say if roar? We can also do short circuit evaluation and just like mark that we don't want to check it if it's. We can just do it this way. Let's say if roar, right, and yeah, so this will just basically make it so that we do a null check, right? So okay, let's do that again and make sure we don't get this, these warnings. I mean, they're errors, but they're basically warnings because they don't actually, yeah. So that's just one thing with Godot, like it's got like yeah. So at runtime, things like Godot, like and you also notice this kind of thing if you work with Python or whatever, like stuff can. I mean, you can get errors that don't completely break the whole thing, and just yeah. Okay, but yeah, let's just make sure we can short circuit this check over here, right? Unless it no short Godot has short circuit checking, right? It should. I mean that's not going to okay. Yeah, I think that should work. If it doesn't, we can just change something with the scope or temporary variable. Let's. Okay, so oh yeah, so now let's do that again. So let's make sure after it uses a roar, we don't suddenly get an error, right? That an error that that doesn't break the whole thing, but an error nonetheless, right? That we would rather not want to see. Okay, so we do this, right? Oh no, we still get the error. Okay, so I guess you can't do this syntax in terms of. I can. What if we do? Can we do this? Or do you have to do the explicit null check and not, you know? Let me just play around with that. I'm not that familiar with Godot, as you can see, so we'll just. I mean, this isn't a big deal, but might as well. Might as well just do it so we don't have to worry about stuff like that later, right? And then this will help me get a little more familiar with, you know, what kind of syntax this engine is sort of expecting, right? Okay, back to here, right? So let's just, make sure that. I mean, like, so if maybe it's not something you can short circuit too, maybe it just like does some sort of compilation at. Okay, so I guess you can't have this kind of thing. So the logic works. It's just that okay, it doesn't like us doing this sort of thing, and then we remove it. So it basically it likes these things to not be removed at runtime, and then if we're going to be executing this block of script again, okay, let's just do this a different way then. Fine, 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 Godot. Like if you don't like this kind of syntax, then all right. Okay, so we won't remove roar then. We'll just set the chance to 0, right? If that's the way you want to do it, Godot, then you know we'll do it that way. It's fine. So we'll do roar dot. What do we call it? This chance wait. Yeah. 0. And then, all right, so let's not do that. Okay, so in the future, we'll have to just not do that, right? So not try to do that. All right. It seems like $sign syntax gives errors in Godot. Right, if the script block is run again at runtime, like you can't avoid it even with short circuit conditional evaluation. All right, so let's just do it this way then. We'll just set the weight to 0. It's fine. Like we don't need to completely remove the node from the scene tree. This will do what we want also, right? So we thought we were being a little fancy, but you know we were just giving ourselves errors that Godot, wait, no, let's take a path that goes to an advanced hallway fight more easily. Okay, so yeah, this way, right? Okay. So let's just go through this again and. All right, so let's just Okay, so let's make sure that Mawler is not giving us errors after it uses roar, because we're no longer removing it from the scene tree, right? We'll behave in terms of doing the things that Godot, wants us to do, right? Oh, so we did use Mawler, yeah. So we're not getting errors anymore, right? Because we addressed it in a different way rather than removing the node from the scene tree. So basically, if you had this syntax, right, I guess if you run into those lines again, like even if you're not completely evaluating this thing, it doesn't like it if you don't have the node there in the sync tree. So yeah, you just have to be careful of that. All right. So wait, how are we vulnerable? Oh, did we mess something up? Wait, it's doing the vulnerable thing again. Yeah, we messed something up. Hold on, what are we? Ah! No, wait, no, that's... That should be right, right? How did we get vulnerable the first time? I should have paid more attention to what exactly was happening. Hold on, let's try that again. Did I like get vulnerable somehow before eating the roar? All right, so let's run through this again really quick. What are we going? What's going on here? Unable to start. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, that's. I'll have to figure out what that is. That's yeah. So yeah, but you can see how it is. Like if you get errors in Godot at night, they don't all kill execution. Like it can kind of just fall graceful. But let's see. All right, so we're being roared at, right? So that part works, right? And then but for some reason the part like where we don't roar, yeah, that part didn't work, right? Oh, because the way we yeah. That's not the way it works. Yeah, because the way we have it is that because this thing can't be there, right? Because basically this weight will be 1, right? And then this weight will be 1, and then this weight will be 2, right? But then the total weight will be 2, so we'll never, yeah. Okay, so we can't do it. That's why we wanted to remove the node to begin with, right? Okay, so maybe we do need to remove the node, but we just need to kind of not use this syntax, right? Okay. All right, so well, we'll just do that then. This is a little. All right, so roar. So okay, so we can make this a nullable, right? And then in the ready function, we set that to roar, right, before it's removed. Okay, so I guess we. So we'll do the short circuit evaluation with the temp variable. So yeah, let's just. But basically, the way I had it, right, so is that we roll, and then like. So we roll between 0 and then the total weight, right? So and then this weight would be 1, this weight would be 2, and then let me see what exactly I was doing when I was rolling. If accumulated weight, okay, so accumulated weight equals total weight. Yeah, so this one would have 1, 1, right, for total weight, and the weight of this action this weight would also... Huh. Should that have worked? Oh, I also had something going on here. Oh, so I was skipping this node if it was 0, right? Then when I'm rolling... Oh, so the accumulated weight didn't get reset because I was skipping it here after I set... That's what was happening. Okay. Yeah, so I just need to know my own code better, right? Like that I wrote a long time ago and... So one thing we could do is we could put a check here so that we're not hitting actions that have a chance weight of 0. But another thing we need to do is just we need to change the accumulated weight when we're setting the chance weight to... Okay, so because this is not... Or maybe we need to remove this so when we reset the chances, right, we don't skip over those. Why did I even add this to begin with, right? Yeah, there must have been some... So, I mean, should I go this route or should I remove the node from the scene tree, right? I guess is the question. What's the best way to handle this? So I can set the values or I can remove it from the scene tree. I guess what's the most intuitive way? Maybe we just remove from the scene tree then. So, okay, so we do need to make sure that when we're setting the total weight and then calling setup chances again, we set the accumulated weight to 0, right, when we want to skip actions. So that would be one way. So that would let us avoid the stupid, temporary variable here, right? So do we want to just set the accumulated weight to 0, or do we want the setup chances to not, skip over if the chance weight is 0? So if the chance weight is 0, we want the accumulated total weight to be 0 also, right? So that's probably why I added that, to begin with in the past, right? But okay, so when we have setup chances, so we're skipping. Okay, so let's just make sure that we set the accumulated weight to 0 when we set the chance weight to 0 then, right? I mean, do we want to make that part of this, or do we just have to make sure we set it manually? Or do we just want to do the thing where we remove the node, like we were saying? Maybe removing the node's better. Okay, I mean, maybe we just leave it like this then. All right. Okay, so that should get rid of the Mawler, issue then. And then this is okay. So what was going on here? There's a player unable to start the timer if it's not in the scene tree, either added or auto start to true. So this mouse detector, mouse exited, was getting set before it got added to the scene tree somehow. What's going on there? Mouse detector, mouse exited. Well, that's in the player scene. Hold on, let me kill this first. So how did this even get mouse exited if it's not in the scene tree? Is that something that just happens? I mean, we maybe we just need to add a check for that. All right, we'll just do that. If we'll just hide it. So you can tell that I'm not really a Godot expert, right? I'm just trying to figure things out as I go. Okay, but yeah, let's go back and make sure that the Mawler is working the way it's supposed to now, right? So we do. We just have this temporary variable, and then that way we avoid re-executing something with this syntax while it's not actually in the tree, right? So, and then we make a note of that, like, yeah, so yeah, okay. So yeah, Mawler, let's just make sure it's not roaring twice in the same fight, right? So this episode just kind of went off the rails again, right? Like, yeah, just things didn't go as expected for us. We made a lot of stupid mistakes, and we forgot what we did with, with our chance weight ruling in the past. Yeah, we just took too long of a break from working on this. All right, but yeah, I should be working now. Okay, Mawler will not. Uh-oh, what's going on here? It's not even. What? What the heck is this? What? How did this happen? So we're not even showing the text. So something. Let me just check the remote scene tree, I guess. So we're looking for this thing, right? And then the C-section target. So right now, nothing. It didn't choose the action yet, right? What? So okay, so these things, the target isn't being set right? Well, those aren't set until the action is used, so that should be fine, right? So why did this suddenly stop working, though, in terms of... Oh, because, okay, yeah, because now I'm doing something in the ready function. I need to call the base class of the... freaking... Okay. Because this has stuff in the ready function, right, that... Hold on, wait, not that, so this... Yeah, okay, yeah, I need this... I forgot. Wow. That's embarrassing. Is it super? Yeah. That's the syntax, right? Yeah, okay. Now the Mawler will work, right? Like, because we've called the base class. Yeah. Because I'm not trying to overwrite the base class ready function. I'm just trying to add that in addition to it, right? Okay, so we ran into some dumb warnings, right? And yeah, we're just not that familiar with Godot, I guess, enough. So yeah, this is kind of why we document everything we're doing, at least, so that in the future we can not run into these kinds of problems. All right, so let's... All right, so... what now? Oh, the timer's not inside the scene tree. What? So it's not that that thing, okay, that the player was inside, it's the timer. Hover timer. Oh, so this doesn't get added until here. Oh, okay, so okay, we need to change that check. That's fine. Okay, but yeah, let's worry about that later. All right, let's just get to the Mawler. Okay, Mawler will, okay, it's, the text is showing up right, and it's not going to maul us twice, right? Like, because that should be fixed now. So we're not getting additional warnings besides the warning we already got for the timer, right? Yeah, so okay, so we did fix that. So it's just a matter of what syntax Godot likes in terms of, well, if you want to use this syntax, if the script is going to pass over that line again, right? Like, I guess it doesn't like it if it's not there. You can't even get rid of it with like a short circuit, you know. Yeah, so I guess just leave anything that is referenced with syntax in the scene tree if the script execution is going to pass over that line again, right? Otherwise, like, use temporary, use like variables to load the at the time it needs. It is inside the scene tree, right? So okay, so but yeah, that's fixed now. We just do this a little bit inelegantly, but all right. But we're not being roared at again, right? And then we're not getting additional warnings because we passed over. Okay, so yeah. All right, so now we need to go back to this and okay, so it's if the timer's in the, so basically this thing isn't in the scene tree the whole time, right? So we have this, we programmatically instantiated it here. Yeah, so we're not really intending this to be called before the timer is in the scene tree, right? So let's just put the check here. Okay, so we'll just do if hover timer dot is inside tree. Yeah, okay, like that. That should fix that. So yeah, let's just get to the Mawler again. We'll just fight the Mawler one last time, right? And then just for the heck of it, right? And to celebrate our getting rid of these errors, right? So, and those errors weren't really messing up the execution of our program, right? But, you know, with engines that you're not familiar with, right? And then we just want to avoid any possible issues in the future if we're not doing the things the way whoever made this engine is, you know, expected us to do things, right? Just to be safe, right? Because, you know, we didn't write this game engine, and so, you know, if we're doing things they don't expect, then that might cause us problems in the future. So yeah, let's just make sure we're doing what Godot wants in terms of, well, how we actually write our scripts. Okay, but yeah, no more little warnings, right? Like or errors. Well, errors that don't crash us, but you know but they show concerning red text, right? Okay, so yeah, we're where we want to be now. So why don't we go and change the Mawler, the weight of the Mawler advanced hallway fight back to, you know, back to the to what it normally should be, because we set the weight to really high just for testing, right? So let's see. Yeah, okay. Wow. But yeah, this episode went way longer than I was expecting, just due to running into the problems, right? So yeah, I'll summarize that in the video description. But yeah, until next time. So next time we want to start fixing it. Oh, I forgot to do the blessing of the four. Well, we can do that. Yeah, let's fix that, right? While we're at it, before we forget, right? Because apparently Blessing of the Forge is in the is uncommon in Slay the Spire 2. In Slay the Spire, the original Slay the Spire, it's common, right? So yeah, let me fix that real quick. So if we go into our potions, right, we have our original Slay the Spire. So we'll copy this. Blessing of the Forge. Slay the Spire 2, Blessing of the Forge, right? And then we'll move that into the Slay the Spire uncommon folder. And then, like the regen potion, right, it's an uncommon in Slay the Spire 2. So then in our Slay the Spire 2 potion pool, before we forget, we'll swap that out. Okay, so Blessing of the Forge is uncommon, before we forget, right? So that'll make us less likely to crash, right? And then maybe, like, I'll also get rid of the Essence of Steel. Okay, next episode, we'll add the fish potion, or whatever it's called. It's called a fish oil potion. And so we'll have a third uncommon potion, right? And once we add that, we won't be crashing if we run into a shop and we roll 3 uncommon potions in a row. But yeah, until next time. Oh, this was kind of